Hello, and welcome back to my car cave. Today we're going to be talking about the 1/18 scale GP replica version of Ferrari's 1999 F399, driven by Michael Schumacher, to first place in the Monaco Grand Prix. As you can see, it comes in a typical GP replica box, nothing special about that. And as with all current GP replica models, they come with this nice acrylic cover for dust-free display, as well as a leather base and a plaque on the base of the model. So with that, let's go ahead and take the cover off and look at the details of this model. Now that we've got the cover off, let's go ahead and look at it closer and look at some of the details. This is obviously a modern version or car for GP replicas. They've been building a back catalog of older F1 cars from Ferrari, Lotus, Williams, McLaren, and others. And, they've done a couple modern ones. I've been hesitant to buy the modern ones because I bought the 1996 McLaren, and frankly, it was smaller in size than the mini champs one I had, which confuses me, and I'm not really sure who's correct, but it kind of put me off on the GP replica modern cars. That said, I'm a huge Ferrari fan and a huge Schumacher fan. For me, he's the greatest driver in F1 history, and that's so I wanted to go ahead and take a chance and check one of these out. Again, I think from other videos I've stated I prefer to have driver figures in here or in the car. This one does come as a version without a driver figure if you prefer not to. That's a subjective matter, obviously. But again, this is typical GP replica quality. I think it's it's a great looking model. That said, I do have some issues with it, and that's why I'm leaving it on the base. I'm not really sure whether I'm keeping this model or whether I'm going to be putting it up on eBay or selling it. So I'll go ahead and leave it on the base for now, because if you don't, you have to cut holes in here, and I just don't want to do that until I know if I'm going to keep it or not. So anyways, let's go ahead and get into the model a bit. It's a beautiful one, and let's look at some of the details up close. Okay, let's look at the front end of this model. If you remember back in the days, the front wings are very, very simple relative to what we've seen the last 20 odd years or so. So when looking at these are very, simple wings. This was the Delta wing that evolved at the end of '97 for Ferrari. They used it at the Japanese Grand Prix. Is that right? Yeah, these are the Japanese Grand Prix, and then it carried over to the '98 and '99 car. And so, anyways, not much to talk about. What I think is interesting, or what I think GP Replicas does very well, is they do the carbon fiber decals. It's maybe hard to see on camera, but it's top-notch decal work there. They also have some photo etched parts on the side, look really nice. They do not have the cut in the wing, which I kind of would have expected. No, actually, it does have the cut in the wing. It's hard to see. Again, I'm keeping this on the base on purpose, so you can see it in there. It's a little more obvious on the rear wing, but I'll show that later. And I do like that this fake camera. Back then you had to have a camera on every car, and if yours was not activated, it was just a metal foil wing, so to speak. And I like this done in a nice chrome metallic cover, unlike the Hot Wheels version at the time. So moving on to the let's call it the suspension and wheels on these cars. GP Replicas does an amazing job. Their wheels look like they're made out of metal. They're not, but as opposed to say mini champs or Virago that would look painted, or Mattel, these look like they're truly made out of metal. The wheel nut is great detail. It's red on this side and then blue on the other side, as it would have been on the real car. And then if you look at the suspension, it's done in this carbon fiber, and it's the checkerboard carbon fiber. I think you can pick that up on the cameras. I move it back and forth, but I think GP Replicas does an amazing job with their carbon fiber decals. You're paying for it, but Yeah, they do a great job. It's just amazing how delicate these suspension arms were at that time, in the end of the 90s, relative to what we see nowadays. But that is, yeah, it's the front nose of the nose section. Again, some photo etch parts here for the on the suspension. Um, then you have again the radio communication antenna is also done in photo etch metal as well. So moving to the middle section of the car here, this is kind of where I'm not really sure what's going on. But anyways, one of I would say my hangups with this model is this marble decal here looks tiny. Just doesn't look proportionate to me. I've tried to look at photos and it looks like it's accurate, but it just doesn't feel totally right to me. That said, what I do like about this particular model is it is the Monaco spec, which has these additional vents right here ahead of the exhaust exits, as well as these black vents on the wing flip up here. Those are not on some of the other models that were made for this period of time. Uh, and you see, again, some of the highly detailed carbon fiber here. Again, it's that checkerboard pattern. Not sure you can see it on camera, but again, great details. This exhaust exit is really nicely done. Um, Something you just didn't see on the what was Mattel at the time was the only car available. Um, but like I said, I think this is it's GP typical GP replica standards. You can see all the rivets in here. Again, the glossy paint looks amazing. Um, yeah, this mirror, or sorry, the this camera detail is it's a little bit. I don't think they were white, and it's supposed to be silver. It's a white decal. I'm not sure that's the greatest. Um, so if I had to put a knock on the car, that's something I would highlight right there. So this particular GP Replicas is a driver version. They do make a non-driver version if you're so inclined not to have drivers. I personally like to have drivers. That said, I do not like to have posed drivers. I do not like it when they have their hands raised or whatnot in a post-race celebration. It just kind of looks goofy. This one, it's terrible, even though it is exactly what Schumacher would have done. His fists are hiding the helmet. Um, I just don't like it. Adding to that, this helmet is not the right helmet for the race. It's an aero helmet, which he would not have worn. I did look online and I found photos. It is definitely not the helmet he would have worn at this race or did wear at this race. So I'm a little confused from a high-end maker like GP Replicas why they had this aero helmet on here. That said, it also looks ginormous. It's reminiscent of the Mattel ones of that period that were also, in my mind, oversized and made me hate the Mattel models. So that is just another, along with this cowling decal, that's another thing that I would add to my disappointment on what is otherwise a high quality, high end model from GP Replicas. So cockpit's great. Has a fabric seatbelt, photo etched parts. They do provide, like I said, they provide all the decals. This car originally does not come with decals on it. I put them on myself. That said, they provide every decal to the point where you can't even. I don't know how you get them in there. Without taking the figure out, it's impossible to get to. So let's say the driver's suit. They have tiny little decals for the gloves, which I couldn't even get on. Um, so that's where maybe there's too much detailing uh, in an effort to be overly accurate. So, but that's the driver. Again, for me, it's a disappointment. Again, the helmet's the wrong size. In my opinion, it's the wrong shape also. So that's one of the reasons I'm waffling on this car, so to speak. So moving on to the rear wing elements. I believe 99 was the first time, maybe a little bit 98. I think 99, they really started to ramp up and use this triple wing element. It was also heavily used in 2000. Monaco being high downforce, they loaded up the rear wings. Some of the other competitors also had multiple rear wings as well. It's unique. It's not something you see now. And from race to race, they'd have anywhere from one to three elements, just depending on what they're doing, and had some rear lower elements as well. On this particular car, it's you can see the rear diffuser. Back in the days, much simpler diffusers, and actually they're a little more complicated than what we're using. You seem to be using today. They're a lot smaller. You got the rear light as well. This is all done in a carbon fiber decal. Not sure you can pick up that as well. I'll try to maybe put in a photo of that. But all in all, a highly detailed model for what is a simple car relative to what we see in current times. So just briefly, I mentioned I had the Mattel version before. That was all that was offered back in 1999. They had the exclusive rights, taking over from Mini Champs. So this is a comparison. And what I wanted to point out was that they are similar size, which alleviated my concern having bought that McLaren that the modern GP replicas were not an accurate size. That said, this one, you can see from the Mattel, there are things like this little end plate here is a add-on piece, whereas on the GP replicas, it's a solid mold. Also, the same here. This kind of cutout here is not of a good quality. Plus, they had this fuel lid, which was kind of silly. And more importantly, they had the massive oversized helmet, which I just did not. I don't know. It's gigantic. It's not the right for the car, and it really annoyed me back in the days that my only options were these products. That said, it's still a nice model. From a couple feet away, it looks just fine in a display case. This is the British Grand Prix variant, which features the barcode logos that we'd have in the non-tobacco races. And as you can see also the marble here, it's a much larger size. That looks more appropriate to me. Again, I don't know what is accurate. This just looks right to me versus the GP replicas. This one also features the 100 Years of Fiat, which is kind of a nice just decal or difference from other races. And, but you can see here that the execution of the exhaust outlets is not great. There's no carbon fiber decaling on here. So you get what you pay for. The GP replica is clearly a better model. No discussion there from my point of view. However, that said, if you're just looking for a nice display model, the Mattel is just fine. And so I'm gonna think on this GP replica, and we'll see what if I decide to keep it or not. That said, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please go ahead and subscribe and like. Please put a comment in there if you would like as well, and I'll try to answer those. So I'll have some more videos coming soon.
The